Hey everyone, welcome back. It seems like every day there's a new cyber threat to worry about.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and honestly, who can keep up with it all? Well, that's what we're here for, right?
That's right.
In this deep dive, we're going to unpack two really important attack types. BEC, which is business email compromise, and DDoS, distributed denial of service. And we're really diving deep using some inside info from Microsoft Research, some reports on this new botnet called Gorilla, and we're even going to touch on some of the work by Kevin Mitnick.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the OG social engineer.
The OG, yeah.
So let's get started with BEC. It's kind of like that email that looks totally legit, but it's not.
Right.
So Microsoft found that these BEC attackers, they're using trusted file sharing services to target businesses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we're talking about like your Dropbox, your SharePoint, OneDrive,
Right.
Places that you would think, oh, these are trustworthy sites.
Exactly.
But it's like leaving that side door unlocked.
Yeah, exactly.
And you think, oh, it's fine, it's just for family.
Yeah.
But then that's how you get,
That's how you get in trouble.
that's how you get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's what Kevin Mitnick talks about. Security is as much about psychology as it is about the technology.
Absolutely.
So Microsoft gave this example in their report, where let's say you get an email from your boss, and they're asking you to review a budget file on OneDrive.
Okay.
So you click the link, it's got your company logo, it all looks good.
You're not even thinking twice about it.
No, not at all. And then you go to open the file, and it asks you to log in again.
Right.
Which you've probably seen that before, right?
A million times, yeah.
Yeah, so you enter your credentials without thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's a fake login page,
Oh, wow.
and it's designed to steal your info. So it's like that Trojan horse. It looks totally normal on the outside,
Right.
but inside,
Bad news.
it's bad news. And imagine if someone in the finance department falls for this.
Oh, it'd be devastating.
Oh yeah, it could be bank accounts, sensitive financial data, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And what's really interesting about this is it's not even about having a strong password.
Right.
It's about being aware
Yeah, awareness.
of these tactics and how they're going to play on your,
Your trust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we've seen how attackers can exploit that trust with BEC, but what about just brute force attacks?
Right.
That's where DDoS comes in.
Okay.
Have you heard about this Gorilla botnet?
I have, yeah. What's going on with that?
It's everywhere, and I keep seeing these articles about how its attacks are like a digital flood.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe what a DDoS attack is.
Right, because you're just getting hit with all this traffic.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine like a fire hydrant, right? Just blasting water.
Yeah.
And you're trying to catch it with a straw.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what it's like. It's just like a massive amount of traffic.
Yeah,
And
overwhelming.
it just overwhelms your systems, yeah.
And this Gorilla one's no joke. I saw it something like 300,000 attacks in just a few weeks,
Oh, wow.
targeting like universities, banks, gaming platforms,
Right.
and in over 100 countries.
Oh, wow. So they're really going after it, huh?
Yeah, and it seems like these DDoS attacks, they can be more than just annoying.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They can have like real consequences for businesses.
Financial consequences, absolutely.
And I was reading about how it can disrupt services like healthcare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about, especially if they're targeting like, emergency response systems or
Yeah.
healthcare systems, that could be really bad.
Or even act as a smokescreen.
Exactly.
While everybody's focused over here, they're doing something else over there.
Exactly, yeah. It's a distraction technique, right?
Yeah.
So while everyone's busy trying to put out the fire, so to speak, someone else is, running in the back door
Right. Yeah.
and stealing all the good stuff. So
Taking advantage of the chaos.
exactly. Yeah, it's a very common tactic, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And it seems like it's becoming easier and cheaper for these guys.
Well, yeah, the cost of hardware's gone down.
Right.
So it's just easier to get your hands
And
on.
it's powerful, cheaper.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like, remember we were talking about how the printing press democratized information?
Right.
Same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's now easier to do this. It's cheaper to do this. It's more accessible to do this.
And the bad guys can take advantage of it, just like the good guys, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you've got all these devices, right? The Internet of Things.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Like your fridge, security cameras.
All those things, right?
Kids' toys.
Yeah. And a lot of them don't have great security.
Yeah.
And so they're easy to compromise.
So they can become part of this botnet army.
Exactly.
So it really does feel like a digital flood.
It does.
And so how do we even keep up? How do we fight back?
Well, that's where companies like Cloudflare come in.
Okay.
So they're kind of on the front lines of this. They use these things called CDNs, content delivery networks,
Right.
to kind of absorb that malicious traffic.
So they're like the front line. They take the brunt of the attack so that...
Exactly. Yeah, they kind of act as a buffer
Oh, okay.
between the attacker and the target.
But it's a constant back and forth, isn't it, as the attacks get more sophisticated?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a constant arms race.
Right.
Right. So as the attacks get more sophisticated, the defenses have to become more sophisticated as well.
And are there ways that, aside from having these big companies, like, is there stuff that, like, everyday people can do to protect themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of it comes down to just basic cyber hygiene, right?
Yeah.
Making sure your systems are patched, making sure you have good passwords, being aware of phishing attempts, all that kind of stuff really does make a difference.
So it's not just about building, like, bigger and better walls?
No, it's not just about the technology, right? It's about understanding, the threats that are out there.
Right, because we were talking about BEC and DDoS, but that's just two things.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
two small pieces of a much larger puzzle.
Yeah, 2024 has seen a lot more than just that.
A lot more, yeah.
And I mean, some of this stuff feels like it could really hit close to home, like the healthcare industry.
Oh, yeah.
So that Change Healthcare attack, that wasn't just some like one-off thing.
No, we're seeing a lot more of that, yeah. A lot more ransomware attacks targeting hospitals and clinics.
Which is scary because it's not just about data.
No,
It can shut the whole thing down.
it can shut the whole thing down. They could be, holding patient records hostage, disrupting their ability to process, insurance claims and things like that.
Yeah.
It can really bring a hospital to its knees.
And then you've got things like this Salt Typhoon group.
Right. These guys are scary.
They got into U.S. wiretapping system.
I know, right? Like out of a movie or something.
Like, how is that even possible?
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they were able to get in and, potentially eavesdrop on investigations, disrupt intelligence gathering.
So it's not even about money.
No, not always. Sometimes it's about something much, much bigger.
And it just shows how much we rely on these systems that can be attacked.
We do. I mean,
Wow.
think about it. We rely on these systems for everything.
Communication, healthcare, everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, it makes you realize how vulnerable we are.
Yeah.
And it's not just like the big, government systems. It's everyday stuff like Vonti VPN, ConnectWise.
Right. Those are big too, though, in a way,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of companies rely on those services.
But they're vulnerable too.
They are, yeah. And when they go down or when they're compromised, it can have a ripple effect.
So what is it? Are we seeing like more sophisticated hackers? What's going on?
I think it's a little bit of everything. The hackers are definitely getting more sophisticated, but we're also seeing more organized groups, sometimes even state-sponsored.
Oh, wow.
So they have the resources, they have the motivation, and they have the expertise to launch these really complex attacks.
So you've got BEC over here, DDoS over here. You've got these hackers coming in.
It can feel kind of overwhelming, can it?
Yeah, it does. It makes me want to just throw my phone away and like go live in a cabin
Right.
off the grid. Yeah.
But we can't just bury our heads in the sand.
Right.
Knowledge is power.
Right.
And the more we understand these threats,
Yeah.
the better we can protect ourselves.
Yeah. No, that's right. It's about being informed
I guess
and knowing what you can do to protect yourself.
Exactly. So that's what we're here for.
Okay, good.
Right. We want to give you the information you need
Right.
to make smart decisions and stay safe online.
Yeah, because it can feel overwhelming, but there are things that you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are steps you can take.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about those.
Okay. Sounds good.
Like, how can we stay safe in this crazy cyber landscape?
Right. Well, one of the things that really struck me, and we saw this over and over again in our research, is the importance of simplicity.
It's like that whole thing, right? The more complex something is.
The more that can go wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it made me think about that whole Marriott thing.
Right.
Where their IT system was just so complex
It was a nightmare.
that they couldn't even like figure out
They couldn't even get a handle on it.
how to protect it.
And it made them a really easy target, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like building a castle with 100 doors.
Right. You're just asking for trouble.
So what can people do? Like aside from just like throwing our phones away, what can we do to actually protect ourselves?
Well, strong passwords are a good place to start. And I know everyone's probably tired of hearing that,
Right.
but it's true.
Yeah.
And don't use the same password for everything.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Because if one of your accounts gets compromised, they're all compromised.
Right, right. And like two-factor authentication.
Oh my gosh, yes. If you can turn that on, do it. It makes a huge difference.
It's like that extra layer.
Exactly. It's like having a guard at the gate, checking IDs. It's not foolproof.
Right.
But it definitely makes it a lot harder for the bad guys to get in.
And then aside from just like our devices, like what about those phishing scams and stuff?
Right. Well, that's where awareness comes in, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to spot those fake emails, those suspicious links.
Yeah.
It's like anything else, the more you know.
Yeah, like you see a weird link, you're just going to click it.
Exactly. Don't just click on anything. Look at the sender, hover over the link, make sure it's actually going where it says it's going.
Yeah, yeah.
And if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Right, right. Be suspicious of everything.
A little healthy skepticism. Never hurt anybody.
But it feels like it's getting harder to tell what's real and what's not, especially with AI now.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other can of worms. We were talking about those fake job postings earlier.
Right, with the AI.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
It's like, how can you even tell anymore?
It's tough. And it's only going to get tougher as the technology gets more sophisticated.
So what can we do?
Well, on the one hand, you have AI being used to create these really convincing attacks.
Right.
But on the other hand, AI is also being used to help prevent them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are companies out there developing AI systems that can actually predict attacks before they happen.
That's wild.
It's pretty amazing. They analyze all sorts of data, looking for patterns and anomalies that might indicate an attack is brewing.
So it's like having an early warning system.
Exactly, like a digital immune system almost.
So it's like AI versus AI.
In a way, yeah, like a cyber arms race with AI on both sides.
Wow. So where does that leave us?
Well, it means that the future of cybersecurity is going to be very interesting, to say the least. But it also means that we can't just rely on technology alone.
Right.
We need to be smart, we need to be aware, and we need to stay informed.
That's a great point. It's like a partnership, right?
Exactly.
Between us and the technology.
Yeah. We need to work together to stay ahead of the bad guys.
Well, that's a perfect place to wrap up. We've talked about everything from BC to DDoS, even AI, and it's clear that cybersecurity is not getting any simpler.
Definitely not.
But being aware of the threats and taking steps to protect ourselves, those are the best things we can do.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Right, exactly. And speaking of knowledge, be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the research and articles we talked about today.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on social media.
We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe out there.
Stay safe.